Digital objects such as computer programs, web-based programs, social media accounts, and so on appear to change enormously. For example, Instagram is a social media platform that allows its users to share short videos and photos and to edit them. Doesn't have store function in its initial version. The store function is a feature of the product that allows users to upload 24 hours temporary media called stories. However, the current version of the product has the store function. One position is that such changes are only a result of some linguistic conventions rather than true changes. The position suggests that digital artifacts are mathematical entities. Our daily behaviors about digital objects suggest otherwise. We use several artifacts which undergo changes through time, and we still believe that we use the same object. In this presentation, I argue that digital objects survive through changes. My aim is to give an account of the nature of digital artifacts in a way that is consistent with our linguistic and non-linguistic behaviors concerning these objects. I will make the following assumptions. Digital objects exist, and digital objects are abstract artifacts. Before I start to explain the nature of the digital artifacts, I would like to explain two terms related to the topic. The first one is an algorithm. An algorithm is an eternal object similar to mathematical entities such as sets and numbers. Algorithms describe which steps will be taken and how the steps will be sequenced in order to reach a desired end. And the other one is code. A code is a written version of these instructions, step by step, in a computer language. And pre-existence view on the issue either suggests that digital artifacts are identical, either with their algorithm or their code. This view is the one I mentioned earlier. They accept that digital artifacts are mathematical entities and they don't change through time. The second one is argued by Irmak. Irmak argues that digital artifacts are not identical with neither their algorithm nor their code. Instead, they are rigidly dependent on their algorithm. And the third view suggests that argues that digital artifacts constitute abstract objects. And according to the third view, during the programming process, a programmer produces various different artifacts such as code base, a program, a software system, etc. The relation between these objects is constitution. However, they adopt Baker's notion of constitution, which requires spatial coincidence between the constitute object and its constituent. However, in their view, digital objects are abstract objects which don't have special properties, and how exactly the constitution view holds in their accounts is uncertain. The software product is the closest objects to software in our daily usage. The essential property of a software product is his high-level requirements, which means that intentions of a producer to produce a software product carried by the high-level requirements of the product. The high-level requirements are descriptions of the features and functions of software product. These features include which kind of machine system the software product operates and which languages the product supports, and all high-level functions of the product also included in this requirement. Therefore, software products like Instagram or Facebook that operate in iOS and Android are different products. Furthermore, the current version of the Instagram that has the story function and the initial Instagram that doesn't have this function are two different products. In order to defend that digital objects survive through change, I apply origin as act theory to digital objects. On this view, origin as act is necessary and sufficient to determine the identity of artifacts. The identity of a given artifact is essentially determined by acts through which it is made, instead of the matter which the artifact is originally made out of. The identity of these actions is fundamentally determined by the intentions that lead those activities. Moreover, the modal properties of artifacts are fundamentally determined by the creative intentions which bring the certain object into existence. The relation between an object and the creative activities of making them is constitution, and constitution is being made out of relation. In evidence account, abstract objects such as musical works, fictional characters, and languages are also artifacts which are produced by their producers, and they are constituted by some entities which are intentionally selected by their producers. In the case of musical works, Enin argues that they are constituted by their sound structures. In the case of digital artifacts, algorithms play a role similar to the role of sound structures in musical works. An algorithm is an abstract entity which is language independent, and it is a pattern of instruction. In the ontology of musical works, a sound structure is also an abstract entity like numbers and sets. Sound structures also describes how a musical work will be performed. So in the following, I will argue that digital artifacts are mainly, if not only, made out of their algorithm. There is an issue about the revision of digital artifacts in Enin's account. The making out of processes includes revision processes of artifacts, and Enin argues that making out of activities should be performed whomever they are actually performed by. Under these two conditions, it prima facie seems that revisions of digital artifacts can be exclusively made by their producers. On the other hand, in the case of daily objects, Enin argues that the restorer maintains the given object in a way that mimics the original activities of the producer. Moreover, Enin also argues that an artifact can be produced by individuals who share a nested intention in order to perform an overarching action together. In the case of digital artifacts, some products such as Microsoft Office program requires enormous amount of work, both for programming and revisions. Hence, Office programs are produced and revised by a team or even several teams of programmers. I argue that group production and the revisions made by other than the original producers of a given artifact might also be considered as multiple individuals act upon nested intentions to perform an overarching action. The original intentions which actually brought into existence the given artifact can be understood similarly in the case of determining their modal properties by investigating their history of production. In the case of revision, the intentions involved in the revising process should be involved in the overarching action which produces and revises the given product. Questions how and to what extent the given intentions of the restorer and the original maker should act in the same way is unanswered. One option to explain the issue is to adopt extreme extensionalism and claim that the original producer of a given product is always right about the individuation of her product. In the case of extreme intentionalism, if the producer of Instagram intends to produce different products when he extends the product into different languages and machine systems, then iOS version and Android version of the Instagram are two different objects. If the producer intends to revise the Instagram product while he is adapting the exact same changes, the exact machine systems has been introduced, then iOS and Android versions of the product are the same product. I think moderate intentionalism provides a better explanation on the problem. I think the history of production is the same in both cases. Hence, in both cases, the programmer revises the product regardless of his analyzation of his own work. The same or very similar making out of activities which brought into existence the product Instagram could have been occurred if Instagram would have been produced to work exclusively on a different machine system that it has been actually produced for. The reason for this is that both the intentions and content of the making out of actions that bring Instagram into existence would be the same. The making out of activities by which Instagram was produced could have had a different constituent, namely a different machine system requirement in its high-level requirements. Even though the programmer introduces a new machine system to his product with an intention to produce a new product, he fails in his actions. The reason for this is that the producer doesn't engage in distinct and different acts of making while he is adapting new machine systems or functions to his product. Instead, he makes an addition to his previous activities and engages in the history of the production of a pre-existing product. Therefore, there is no new product. The identity of the work is mostly determined by making out of activities of the producers of the given work in evidence accounts. Another fundamental part is the content of the work. In the case of digital artifacts, technological developments are important in determining some functional features of digital artifacts. For example, any digital artifact necessarily requires some machine system or internet connection. I believe without the existence of these kind of technologies, we wouldn't have the same digital artifacts we use today. There are some restrictions to the model properties, the model flexibility of the work, and then things that two different individuals cannot produce the same work because intentions and actions that bring certain works or certain actions into existence necessarily belong to whom they actually belong to. Another restriction is that the high-level functions of Instagram or the algorithm and the code of the product cannot be the same with another program, let's say Facebook or Twitter. The reason for this is that each of these products are produced through different and distinct making out of activities. Each of these making out of activities necessarily brought into existence different products. I think nested intentions and group actions play a fundamental role to explain the revisions processes of digital artifacts. They provide us tools to explain how we can identify certain digital artifacts and how different digital artifacts are related to each other. Another problem about the group production is that in cases of distributed labor, which intentions are included in the overarching action, which intentions are included in the overarching actions that produce the product is not always clear. Assume that a company wants to develop an operating system. Operating systems are software systems which coordinate and run other softwares on computers. A company manager allocates the work into several teams of programmers. One team is responsible for the design of the operating system. The design team decides which features and functions will be included in the product. Another team is responsible to program off the interface of the product. Some of the teams define various features and functions of the product. Furthermore, individuals who program the product do not know about the end product. Only the design team is aware of the end product. And the end product will be a certain kind of operating system. However, individual programmers carry out the workload. They choose algorithms which fits to certain required purpose. They write codes, they define requirements, and so on. The end product involves label of various independent programmers who works in the same project. Each individual intention and action bring into existence a piece of matter of the given operating system, but individuals are not aware of the fact that their actions play a role in making out of activities of an operating system. Therefore, they do not have an intention to produce an operating system. The problem is which intentions actually bring into existence the end product is uncertain at first glimpse. The design team decides to develop the operating system. Even though the design team doesn't program any piece of the product, they intend to make an artifact, which is an operating system. They choose or indicate ready-made objects that are created by programmers and bring into existence a program. Moreover, it seems to me that if there were no intentions to create an operating system during the work distribution, and the sum of the work of programmers accidentally turn out to be works as an operating system, there wouldn't be an operating system. Makers work independently on a project who are unaware of the end product and who doesn't have an intention concerning the product do not produce the end product. They produce pieces of constituent matter of the end product, which are eventually constitute the end product. However, if the programmers were aware of the overarching program and works to complete their tasks as an attempt to finish the project, then their actions would have been a part of the overarching action of producing the operating system. To sum up, I think the application of Agnes' constitution notion provides a plausible account of the nature of digital artifacts in accordance with our linguistic and non-linguistic behaviors under the conditions that intentions which bring into certain revisions are consistent with the intentions which were involved in the producing process of the given artifact. Thank you.